Hello, everybody. I am so sorry for the delay. Can you all hear me okay? It's good to see you guys. Hi, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Hi, IK. Hi, Don't Feed the Bears. Yes, we are back, OT7. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but exciting, very exciting. I hope you guys have been well. I am so sorry for the delay. I have a lot of slides for today that took me a little longer to make than I was expecting, so I had to quick kind of finish them up. I'm like a procrastinator from way back when, so old school procrastination strikes again, but it's been a bit of a busy week, so I was doing my best to balance everything. So hopefully everything looks good. Any typos or anything that you see is on account of me just trying to finish things up quickly, but I think we'll have fun today, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm just going to put us back on the screen with no sound for a second because I forgot to grab something. So I'll be right back, but it'll just take me a minute. Okay, now I'm back. Hopefully everybody can hear me again. It'll probably take a second. Yes, I hope everybody had a great festa. I hope it was a lot of fun for everybody. I know I had a really fun time. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Specifically, I'm going to be talking, like I said in my community tab on the channel, I'm specifically going to be talking about Jin and J-Hope's like little radio show that they did, and just unpacking some of that stuff. 12 questions is a lot, so I'm only going to be talking about 4 of the questions today and kind of unpacking the songs that they discussed. But nothing too crazy. It's going to be a fun chatting time. Yay, I'm so glad. Alrighty. So since I was a little bit late, we'll get right into it. I do have a little bit of housekeeping like usual, so I'll kind of get into talking about that. We'll see if anybody else kind of wanders in while I'm talking. So nothing super major for housekeeping on my end right now. The liminal space video is up on the channel at last. Posted that about a week or two ago. I think like right before the rest of the guys got out of the military, so like the 9th or something. So that is up on the channel if you haven't seen it yet. I had a lot of fun putting that one together. And then I will still be continuing like we discussed last time. And again, like I mentioned in the community section of the channel, I will still be working on the Welcome Home BTS series throughout June and July. More July just because I still have to like finish up some scripts, so we'll be getting it more in July. And then I'm not sure when my next live stream date will be, just because I will obviously be working on those videos. I'll need some time to record, but I'll definitely keep you guys up to date with when the next live stream is. Oh, and thank you, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the liminal space video. That means a lot to me. That was a really fun one to put together, so I'm glad you enjoyed. All right. So, like I said, we're going to be talking today about this broadcast. It was they treated it as a radio broadcast, but we could see them, so it was kind of almost like a fun live. Jin and J-Hope's 12 o'clock broadcast that they did, which was to celebrate their 12th anniversary. So I'm really excited to dig into that. AK, yeah, I agree with the statement that military service must have been the ultimate liminal space for BTS. And I think it is really ironic in that way that liminal space is, a theme that has been in BTS's work for the past like decade. And we actually kind of were seeing it play out in real time with their military service. So it kind of felt, I would have wanted to talk about the topic anyway, but it felt kind of extra special and extra ironic and interesting to be having that conversation as they were getting out of the military, because we are kind of talking periods of transition, and a lot of, we're on the threshold of something new now. So it is kind of interesting. It was interesting to explore it at that time. So hello, Javine. Hi there. Yes, thank you. You as well. I think we all deserve like a huge round of applause or a big pat on the back for having gotten through a very, very long hiatus period that felt like it was going to go on forever. And yes, I am sincerely hoping that Yoongi does a live at some point. He did that post on Weverse. That post on Weverse made me sad. So I hope we get to see his face, because I've missed him a lot, and I think it would do him some good to see that ARMY is still here and love him so much. And so hopefully we get a live from Yoongi soon. And I hope you all, if you anybody who has just joined, I hope you all have had a great festa. I hope you all have been having a good week, and I'm happy you're here. So for today, we're gonna dive in to the questions that they asked for this survey. And now I know this survey went out a while ago, and kind of nobody really knew what the questions were going to be used for. I don't actually even remember if I took this survey at the time that it came out. I know a lot of times they keep the window on these surveys kind of small, so that they don't like get overwhelmed with the amount of responses. And I know that Jin and J-Hope said that there was still like 90,000 responses in 12 hours. So there was still a lot of responses to this. So I don't remember if I filled this survey out at the time, but one of the things that I do have as we go through the list of everything today is my picks for some of these questions. A lot of what they picked and the responses from ARMY that they were reading would have been my picks anyway, but I have a couple extra that I added in just, to talk about and have fun with. And then I'm going to be breaking down a lot of the different songs and things that they discussed in this. Yeah, AK, I feel like I missed it too. I feel like it was one of those things that I saw and either thought I had more time than I did and ended up not, like, because that's what happened when they did Festa in 2023, when they did when Namjoon was kind of doing this and was holding like his own sort of radio Q&A. I know they had sent that one out and the amount of time to respond for that one was really, really short. So I know I missed that one. And for this one, I don't know if I missed it in the same way or if I figured, oh, they're probably more going to take like Korean responses anyway, so I didn't fill it out, but I don't remember. So today I'll be talking about my picks instead, so I think that'll actually be more fun rather than kind of putting them into like the random lottery of picks. We can discuss all of our choices, and I think that'll be a lot more fun just kind of talking about it here in the community. So I will just read out the list of the 12 that they asked. The ones in bold are the ones that I'm going to be talking about today and breaking down the songs on those a bit. So these are the 12. As an ARMY, which title song would you recommend when introducing BTS to someone for the first time? Which BTS song is a hidden gem you want to gatekeep for yourself? What is ARMY's favorite BTS choreography? If ARMY could turn back time, which BTS concert would they go to? Which original BTS content would ARMY like to see more of? What is ARMY's favorite BTS lingo? What is ARMY's favorite music show performance? If you could express your feelings towards BTS with one of their lyrics, which would you choose? How did you become ARMY? What made you fall for BTS? What's something interesting that happened to you related to BTS? Do you have a story about finding comfort in BTS? And let's hear the moments of joy that being an ARMY brought you. So these were all honestly amazing questions. And I think they picked really amazing responses out of the ones that they got, because with 90,000 responses to this survey in such a short period of time, I'm sure they had an overwhelming amount of responses to this. But I think the ones that they picked were really, really good. And I think it yielded really, really fun results. I was really surprised to see the diversity of songs that were picked. And, you know, I don't know if those were chosen on purpose so that when Jin and J-Hope were reading them out, they would have a diversity of like different songs and albums and things like that to discuss. But it was really fun to see everything from No More Dream right through to like Take Two. So it was really great to see beginning, end, middle, everything in between. And so that made me really excited, and I'm, you know, want to unpack a lot of that today. The other thing that was really fun about this survey was that while Jin and J-Hope were reading out these questions, they were getting these real-time texts, which turned out to be from the other members. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think we got an official like breakdown of which member was which. Correct me if I'm wrong, like if I missed that on like Twitter or, you know, anything like that. But there were 5 different responses to the questions with these following usernames, and I was doing a little research to see like what the internet said, like what people were saying on Reddit, and to see what other ARMY thought. So I was curious what you guys thought too. So the first question was answered by Jin and J-Hope are dummies, which I know a lot of people were thinking was Jimin, because the whole Jimin is a fool or Jimin is a dummy thing is a joke from like American Hustle Life era. So that V did against Jimin. So it would be kind of funny if Jimin was using that as like his username now to make fun of Jin and J-Hope. Hitchhiker Hobbit, that's what I heard too, that it was in fan chant order. I saw a couple people say that, which would mean that this was actually Namjoon, which I had seen because it's interesting too. Jin and J-Hope said they tried to guess and they got them all wrong. So I have a feeling that the members picked usernames that were like deliberately meant to throw off the scent, and so that even Jin and J-Hope couldn't guess. So the obvious answer might not be the answer here. So, because I was even wondering, the way that the second username is worded, the among Jung Ho-suk and the kids, the eldest of Kim Seok-jin's younger siblings, just on the face of it, that would be obviously Yoongi, because he is, you know, the next oldest hung after Jin. But I was even wondering if at one point I was thinking maybe that was Namjoon because of the way it's worded, because he's saying among J-Hope and the kids, and he's right there at the same age with J-Hope. So I wasn't sure if that was also Namjoon trying to be sneaky. But if we're going in fan chant order, it would be Namjoon, then Yoongi, then Jimin, then V, then Jungkook. So that Choco Choco could also be Jimin. I think the last two, unless they decided to be a little bit sneaky and throw Jin and J-Hope off of the scent, are a little bit more obvious. I want more Bon Voyage being V would make a lot of sense, because he has talked about how much Tae has talked about he wants to do more Bon Voyage. And so I think it would be make a lot of sense if that was Tae. And then I'm a little bit slow on the uptake sometimes, because I didn't realize until I was reading the one Twitter thread that obviously Master of Three Dimensions is 3D, which would make sense if that was JK. So what I would personally love to see, and I don't know if we'll ever get this, but I would love a Bangtan bomb of what Jin and J-Hope were saying to each other in between like the commercial breaks, like when they were playing the songs. So it would be funny to see what they guessed, because like I said, apparently they were wrong. So I would love to see what their wrong guesses were, to see if that helps us determine the right guesses. Yeah, Tae has said, I know he said it when he was on Yoongi with Yoongi on his drinking show, that he just really wants to do Bon Voyage again. So I think it's probably safe to say that is Tae, because it was in the question about what's like a content that ARMY wants to see more of. And so he came on with that username, and it was specifically saying, I want to see like the Northern Lights, I want to travel. And like Jin and J-Hope's response was so funny of like, why don't you just look up the Northern Lights on YouTube? Which I think was hilarious. So I would definitely believe that was Tae. Hi, Metaloop. Welcome. I'm glad you could be here. Welcome to anybody else who's joined. We're going to just be having some fun today talking about the Festa broadcast that Jin and J-Hope did for us. So yeah, so I thought that was cute, the fact that the members all sent in little messages and so much fun chaos. So alrighty, so let's jump in. Of these questions, of these 12, like I said, the bolded ones are the ones that I'm going to be kind of talking about a little bit more in depth today. I wish I could talk about all of these, other than like the last four were obviously like very personal to the people who sent them in, so I couldn't really talk about those as much. But I wish I could talk about all of these questions, like the first 8, because they were all amazing. But I'm going to be talking about the first question, the second, the third, and the 8th. So starting with, what is the title song you'd recommend when introducing BTS to someone? Jin, out of the whole list, picked Dynamite, while J-Hope picked Idol, which were also 2 that ARMY picked. And Jin's logic for picking Dynamite was that it's probably the BTS song that most like casual listeners would know. So it's a good one to kind of start as the branching off. And then J-Hope picked Idol specifically because he felt that it was still a very known song of BTS's that could also serve as a jumping off point. And ARMY kind of had similar thoughts about these two. ARMY mentioned Dynamite as being their Hot 100 song, and ARMY also mentioned just the vibe and the energy of Idol and how Korean it is, the Korean elements, and also the lyrics, which I completely agree with. I think that's a great idea for both of those. Just let me take a look at the chat real quick. Oh, Metaloop, were they looking at the Northern Lights? I think it would be great if they were like putting in little hints into BT21. Like that would be a lot of, because I know they've definitely done that in the past. It would be very nice if they could go on a trip. I think it would be great. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, I agree. On is always my de facto like go-to song to say when recommending. And it's funny, when they read out On as one of ARMY's picks, whatever ARMY it was that said this, whoever's response that they picked, I agree completely with what they said, that On is very impressive. It has like a very big scale and it can appeal to a lot of new listeners. I think, especially if you're, showing that song to somebody who is an English speaker. I think there is so much English in that song while still being a, Korean song. It still has the Korean lyrics, still has their rap parts, but it has enough English that I think it's accessible to a lot of people. And I definitely always agree with saying On for that one. And Spring Day is a good one because I think Spring Day is very universal in its emotions. And I think it's, a lot of people that I know personally, they know BTS from, like Jin said, Dynamite, Butter, things like that. And I think having a song like Spring Day to go, hey, this is BTS too, is also, a really, it kind of subverts expectations a lot. Yeah, you're right, AK. There's a lot of, you also have to sort of describe context for some of these too, which can be a challenge. Metaloop, yeah. So I saw when Jin was on the Korean variety show Screwballs, he had kind of said that Dynamite kind of wasn't the, felt a little bit much like it wasn't their sort of vibe, which I do actually remember them talking about at the time. There were Reverse magazine articles that came out around the time that the English songs were released, where they were talking about how the English songs were very different when they were first presented to BTS and how they had to be changed pretty severely. If I remember correctly, because I haven't read this article in years, but I feel like I remember the article saying that Dynamite had a lot of profanity in it when it first came to them, and like Butter had no rap part, or like the rap part was just like the rap parts that they were getting suggested, they were like, no, we don't want these. And I remember also reading that Permission to Dance was like a much slower love song at one point. So they've definitely, those English songs have gone through a huge metamorphosis period that, none of us as ARMY are even privy to because we're used to seeing the finished version. So I do get what Jin is saying with Dynamite about it. It's like it is the most accessible song that most people would probably know, even if they wouldn't know that Dynamite was a BTS song. Like they just had heard it, and they didn't know who did it. And so you're like, hey, you know that song Dynamite? That's a BTS song. And it kind of does serve as a good gateway. But I would definitely still say On, personally. And yeah, I agree, Don't Feed the Bears. Idol does say it all. I think you get a really good sense of BTS's vibe with Idol. You get the love yourself message. You get, the big performance. You get a very Korean song. And I do think it's a great pick. Yeah, Hitchhiker Habit. If you show off the On Come Prima, yeah, that's actually when they did the full dance break, when they did it on the Tonight Show, when they did it in Grand Central Station. That's how I got my mom hooked on BTS. So I definitely agree with that as a good pick. The other picks that ARMY made, other than On and Spring Day, were Run and No More Dream. Run because it has a very bittersweet and hopeful vibe, and No More Dream because it is, of course, their first one. It's a strong start, although Jin disagreed with that in very hilarious fashion. He was like, no, I don't think I would pick that one. And then the members' pick in this one was Spring Day. So like I said, I would definitely pick On. A lot of my picks that I would pick for this question, ARMY had already chosen. But if I had to pick a couple of songs that weren't on the list, I would go with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Blood, Sweat, and Tears can have a little bit of a high barrier of entry with like the music video because, that's a very in-depth, very intense music video. But the song itself, I think, is so unique and it really is attention-grabbing. So I think if you just like play the song, I think that would be a really, really good one. Fake Love, very similarly. I think Fake Love is, just has a very distinct sound. And I think if you were showing it to somebody, like lyrically, if you were showing them the lyrics, I think the lyrics are very impactful and put it into a realm of showing what BTS can do lyrically. And then I put No at the bottom because you guys know, probably from watching my videos where I talk about, things. I always am mentioning No all the time because I love No. I put it a little bit like below Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Fake Love because I don't think it would be as accessible to most people. But I do love No, and I think for somebody who likes that type of song, I think that would really open their eyes to be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that BTS made this type of song. And I think that would be, to maybe get some people who are skeptics or who only know them from their more pop, like mainstream pop songs. I think No would be a good option. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, among new reactors. I could definitely see that because it has like a lot of the same, it's dark. It has an interesting music video. It has a really complicated dance. It has a lot of those elements that would be present in something like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, while maybe being a little bit more accessible than Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So I can definitely see why like new reactors would gravitate towards that one. Yeah, and I do agree, Metaloop. I think Idol can be a little bit difficult if it's like your very first Korean music song. I do think that Idol, because it is so Korean, that might, because like for people who are used to mainstream pop, like Western pop here, and like if you're listening here in the United States or other places, that's a very, very, very different vibe from Idol. I do feel like Idol is a good song to maybe ease into, though, like an early BTS pick, but maybe not like the first BTS pick. I still stand by On as my choice. Hi, Bomac. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. Hope you've been having a good week. Ooh, that's doing like workout. Yeah, would maybe do a workout playlist. That's a really good idea. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, I think Boy With Love could be a good one as well. I know some people think Boy With Love is too poppy. I'm a big fan of Boy With Love, and I think Boy With Love tends to get a little bit misrepresented by people thinking that it's just kind of too flashy and poppy, but I think Boy With Love is a really good one, and it has a good message. It's a very good positive message and a very sweet song. So for that reason, if somebody kind of likes that style of pop, I think that would be a really good one to introduce them to a Korean, BTS pop hit rather than like an all English one like Dynamite or Butter. So then the next question, kind of like the opposite of this first question, because that first question we're sort of looking at like what would be accessible to the most amount of people, what would be the shareable song. This is the opposite. What's a hidden gem that we want to keep just for ARMY, which I thought was a really interesting question that we don't often get to talk about. So I loved seeing this question. So Jin's pick was J-Hope's song Mama from Wings, which then J-Hope playfully said that he would choose Awake, which was a cute moment. But then J-Hope's original pick was Walian 52, which made me very happy because I'm a huge fan of Walian. And then ARMY picked C, 2, 3, Heartbeat, So What, and Where You From. And I was shocked to see Where You From. I was like, blast from the past. I was very excited when that came up. I was also very excited to see songs like C and Heartbeat. And so that was just like, they really found some good hidden gems with that one. Yes, I 2, 3 I think tends to be forgotten because it's on Wings, maybe some of the stuff from Wings doesn't come forward as much, but I absolutely love that song. I think it's a beautiful one to say it's a hidden gem and you want to, kind of keep it for ARMY. I love that one as a pick. And so I would agree with all of these, especially Walian, because I'm a huge Walian fan. But I also wanted to add to this list You Never Walk Alone, Answer Love Myself, Magic Shop, which I don't know if Magic Shop is as hidden as some of the other ones, but I think it's hidden enough that it counts as a hidden gem. And then, of course, Louder Than Bombs. Oh, yes. Outro Her and Rain would be really good ones to put on there as well. Definitely two, like, kind of obscure but really, really good ones. There are so many ones that are like a little bit more obscure that are just beautiful, like especially from the HYYH era, like off of Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1 and 2. You have like Love Is Not Over and Autumn Leaves and House of Cards and just like some really amazing ones. I so agree. Everything Goes off of Mono, that belongs to ARMY. The rest of the world doesn't deserve. I'm very protective of Mono. I love Mono so much. So if I could just say all of Mono is ours, no one else gets that. Oh, I like that, Hitchhiker Hobbit. You are very right that everybody should hear the message of Answer Love Myself. It really is astonishing to me how much the idea of self-love gets misrepresented by people. And so it would be nice if more people could hear the love yourself message as BTS puts it forth, because a lot of people just misinterpret what like self-love means, and they think that it's like an egotistical thing to love yourself. And so it would be nice if more people could kind of feel the way ARMY feels about those types of songs. But yeah, so these are just, I think, and it's funny, a lot of these will come back around later, like when I discuss the lyrics and things like that, because I just think a lot of these have very important messages for ARMY, and it would be nice if we could get everybody to understand that message. Moving on next to choreography. This was a really fun question. I think a lot of really, really good songs were picked here. Honestly, I look at this list, and of course I added a few of my own picks, for fun, but I look at this list and I'm like, perfect, no notes, amazing. I love everything on here, is some of the best choreography. They didn't put Idol on here probably because they had been talking about the Idol choreography previously when they were talking about Idol in the first question. But otherwise, like, all of this is fantastic. So Jin picked On, J-Hope picked Dionysus, then ARMY picked DNA, Black Swan, Fake Love, Save Me, I Need You, and then playfully picked Spinebreaker, which made me so happy. I love the dance for a Spinebreaker. It is beautiful and ridiculous and fantastic, and was made by Jin. And it shows. It definitely shows. And then the members came on and picked Mic Drop and Run BTS. So, like, the best list of BTS choreography you could ever ask for. Yes, I love the dance break in Save Me. It's so much fun. I forgot in my list to also add Fire. I wanted to go back in and add that one, and I didn't get a chance, but also Fire should be on here. I know, but the Spinebreaker dance is my absolute favorite ever. They did it so they did that little music video that they themselves produced for it back when they first were doing the dance and everything. But the truly iconic performance of Spinebreaker is, of course, at the Magic Shot Muster in 2018. And I just love that whole performance so much. Right? Hitchhiker Hobbit, this would be a great set list. I am here for, even with, like, Spinebreaker needs to be included in that because it is iconic. Also, I'm sorry, I said 2018 for the Magic Shot Muster, and it's 2019, and I do have that error in my my future slides as well, but that is 2019. So, right, yes, you're so right, Bomac. You can kind of do the that's what I do when I like listen to Idol. I do that kind of like little hand wave that they do because it's just so much fun. Yes, I agree. I love the long choreography for Mic Drop is just amazing. Mic Drop was my very first BTS song, and so like the choreography for that, when they did Mic Drop at one of the end of year's award shows. I forget if it was Mama or the MMAs. I think it was the Mama Awards. They had a dance practice for that dance break. And so that dance break is like one of the first like things of BTS content that I really ever saw. So I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for that choreo of Mic Drop. To add to those, other than, like I said, Fire, which I forgot to include on here, I would add to it Not Today, Go Go, and Boy With Love. The Not Today choreography is just amazing, and I'm a huge fan of when they would do the back-to-back performance, like in the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself concerts. It was their opening, and it was Dionysus and then Not Today, and that was always such a really, really cool combination. Oh, AK, you're so right. Dope is amazing. I can't believe I forgot Dope as well. Like, I love their dancing for Dope. It's just, and it fits the music so well. It's like probably one of their best like music to dance matches ever. Go-Go, I had to include Go-Go in here because it's just so much fun. And it's like a very upbeat, cute choreography that is so perfect for the song's message. And then Boy With Love, I'm just a huge fan of the choreography for Boy With Love. It's another one that fits really, really well. Yeah, Dope and Fire should definitely be on this list as well. The thing with the fact that they got so many survey responses is I'm sure that probably every single BTS song was said for each question at least once, and they just did their best to kind of pick and choose. And I think they came up with really good lists. But yes, I would definitely add Dope and Fire. All right. The last question that I'm going to discuss here, because we're gonna then break down a lot of the songs and stuff, so we'll have all of the songs to talk about. But the last question that I'm gonna go over is, if you could express your feelings towards BTS with one of their lyrics, which would you choose? So Hobie picked these lines from Microcosmos. You got me, I dream when looking at you. I got you, in the pitch black night, the lights that each of us saw from the other, we're all saying the same thing. And he talks about how he just thinks that those lyrics are so meaningful and they really speak to BTS and ARMY's relationship. He really wanted to talk about how beautiful that sentiment is, how beautiful those lyrics are. I completely agree. I love Microcosmos. The lyrics of Microcosmos are just so stunning. And it's such a beautiful and moving message. So, and then Jin picked, we have some more love for 2-3. Jin picked, it's okay, count 1, 2, 3, then forget it. Because he said that really lines up with his own personal philosophy of not dwelling on bad memories and kind of forgetting, the bad stuff when it happens. He then also said sometimes he forgets the good stuff too, though. And then ARMY picked these lyrics from Spring Day, DNA, and Telepathy as well. Hitchhiker Hobbit, that's that's one of my choices as well. That's so powerful. Right, AK? All of these were great picks. For Spring Day, it is, of course, the iconic I miss you lines. So I miss you, saying this only makes me miss you even more. I miss you even though I'm looking at your photo. And I think we've all felt those lines towards BTS over the past several years, because first we had the COVID-19 pandemic and then, of course, their military service. So I think these lines are very, very meaningful to BTS and ARMY in general. So, and then DNA, I really loved that they included these lyrics from DNA. So, from the day of the universe's creation and on, through the infinite centuries and on, in the previous life, and maybe the next one too, we are together forever. I thought that was a really, really cute one to select as how ARMY feels towards BTS. And then from Telepathy from B, which is, I love the song Telepathy, so it was great to see this one included. So, when the days all feel the same, I'm the happiest when I meet you. When every day is different, the most special person to me is you, which is just such a cute one. I agree. I love Telepathy. It's such an upbeat, fun song, but it has just like such beautiful and sincere lyrics as well. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit, a painting inspired by Love Myself would be awesome. That would be so stunning. Oh, that's great. I love the idea of doing paintings inspired by BTS's songs. That is such a beautiful idea. Oh, right. So here are my picks for the lyrics that I would choose in addition, because again, those are some amazing ones that were already discussed. But for me personally, I would pick these lyrics from Magic Shop, Answer Love Myself, and We Are Bulletproof the Eternal. So from Magic Shop, I picked, you found me, you understood me, you gave me the best of me, so you'll give you the best of you. You'll find it, the galaxy inside you. I've talked a lot about how BTS's music kind of helped me feel understood and, really accept myself. So those lines from Magic Shop are very, very important to me. Same thing with these lyrics from Answer Love Myself. Of course, you've shown me I have reasons I should love myself. And then, so Answer Love Myself and We Are Bulletproof the Eternal were the encore songs at PTDLA day one. So they were already special to me, and then they kind of became even more special to me because I was at that concert literally bawling when they were doing these two songs, just absolutely sobbing because these lyrics and the messages of the songs just speak so deeply to me. So of course I picked from We Are Bulletproof the Eternal, Tell Me Your Every Story, Tell Me Why You Don't Stop This, Tell Me Why You're Still Walking With Us, which is, that line just kills me every time. It is so beautiful and raw and emotional, and I really, really wish that we could just sort of have a conversation with BTS and tell them our stories. I also became an ARMY because of Namjoon's speech at the United Nations where he says, tell me your story. And so I'm just very moved by that. So of course, these are the ones that I had to pick for my own personal lyrics for how I would sum up my ARMY journey and how I would tell BTS what they mean to me. Yes, you're so right, Hitchhiker Hobbit, all the fan songs. Yeah, the songs that they write for ARMY always just have this different level of poignancy when you know how earnestly they're writing this. Like, I remember Namjoon talking about writing We Are Bulletproof the Eternal and crying as he wrote the lyrics, and, I cry when I listen to it, and it feels very special to kind of both be in that emotion together, and I think that's my favorite thing about the relationship between BTS and ARMY, is the way that emotion is shared. And a lot of their songs kind of talk about that shared emotion, like Microcosmos. We were just talking on the previous slide about Microcosmos, and that definitely all fits together as well. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that sounds beautiful. You're painting for Spring Day? That sounds incredible. I'm just checking on the chat messages that I missed while I was talking. But yeah, that sounds amazing. All right. So like I said, those are the 4 questions that I wanted to kind of pull inspiration from. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be talking about these individual songs, pretty much everything except the dance practice songs, like the choreography, the ARMY's favorite choreography picks, just because they are specifically talking about the choreography of those rather than like anything related to the song itself. And I don't know enough about choreography to really like break down like the dance moves or anything. So I'm definitely going to be talking about the songs from like which title track would you choose to share, and which is a hidden gem that you would want to keep for yourself, as well as some of the ones that we discussed lyrically. I don't think all of them though. So, but we'll be scrolling through and taking a look. So yes, I so agree with that. Just I know Army says this a lot in like comment sections of YouTube videos. They'll say like, "Oh, stan an artist who stands you back," or things along that nature. But it really is true. The love that BTS has for Army and the way they put that in their work and the way they're so dedicated to always loving Army, and like that is their front-facing attitude all the time, is so incredible to me. Just to have like it's such a pure-hearted love. I would actually honestly love to do a video just about the relationship between BTS and Army and how special it is. I know that would be very much like, as the saying goes, that would be like preaching to the choir, because we all know it. But it's just such a beautiful thing that I just always love talking about it. Yes, you're exactly right, because they would still have fans even if they weren't writing fan songs. People would still consume their work and flock to their work, but to consistently be going out of their way to write songs for Army is so special. And I even remember when Namjoon was doing his live broadcast for Map of the Soul Persona, the album, he was talking about how he wrote pretty much, he wanted every song on that album to be about Army except for Intra Persona and Dionysus, which were obviously kind of furthering the story of the album series and BTS's own story. And the idea that he was like, all of these songs are for Army. I want them all to be beautiful because they're for Army. And I took my time to write these beautiful lyrics is really, really special. And just, it takes on a whole other level of meaning. Like Metaloop, like you're saying, how do I think BTS sees us? I would like to think that they see Army the way I see them, which is the idea of just look at the people who are here to give me a voice when I didn't have a voice. And I know that they've kind of talked about Army that way, where they've said, we wanted to protect Army, but then Army ended up protecting us. And they've talked about how, when they go on tour or they go to a new place to do interviews or something, it's like Army is there, and Army is the one who kind of is making them visible and protecting them from prejudice and kind of, being their front-facing thing. Like when Army goes to concerts and people always are like, look at how nice Army is. They cleaned and organized, or they were really helpful, things like that. And it's just the idea that BTS loves Army, Army loves BTS, so Army wants to do good in BTS's name is really, really incredible. And I just think if you look at BTS as these people who kind of did offer, hope or self-love or, a light in the darkness, it's kind of special to think that we're doing the same for them. You know what I mean? Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I don't watch too much reaction content, but I do agree that anytime you watch a reactor, anybody who is that open and loving towards Army is, does make the best content. And I think that's even something that we see with people who interview them. One of my favorite things about watching the guys on Jimmy Fallon's show and when they go to the Tonight Show is how much he genuinely likes and respects them and how much he genuinely likes and respects the fans, and he always seems very, like he knows that when a member of BTS is on, that he's not just inviting the member, he's inviting Army, and he always seems like very tuned into that and very open to that. And I just, the best people that BTS works with understand like what BTS themselves always say, that BTS and Army are one and they come as a package deal. And it is very sweet to always be included in their journey like that. And that does mean a lot to me. Alrighty. So let's get into talking about the songs. Now, if you were here earlier and you saw me talking about why I was a little bit late today, I was finishing up making a lot of these slides. So My ambitions tend to be more than I actually have the time or skill to do. So I was very ambitious in wanting to put together slides for each of these songs and maybe fell down a little bit. Like I said, you can actually even see a few errors here and there. Like, for instance, right off the bat on this slide, the magic shot muster happened in 2019. So if you see any typos or any factual errors like that, it is because I was marathoning trying to get these done. So I apologize. I am sorry for my faults. But I did my best to want to bring something kind of pretty that we could be looking at and talking about while I dive deep into some of these songs. So that's definitely going to be my next step as we go through these song by song and discuss each of them. I thought it would be a fun way for armies who have been around for a while to kind of like take a trip down memory lane. And if any newer armies are watching this, maybe get to know some songs that weren't as on your radar. So thank you. I did my best. Like I said, my ambition and my time management skills do not overlap. So I really wanted to make very nice slides, and I did my best. So Metaloop asked, do I watch other theorists? I would like to watch more theorists. My goal when I started making videos is what I wanted to do is I wanted to sort of put my own ideas down on paper first, so that I wasn't like taking somebody else's ideas and I was going just based on like my own analysis first, and then watch some other videos to get an idea of what other theorists were saying. So then that I could kind of check my work, see if was I saying something that a lot of other armies were, or was I saying something that was kind of unique only to me? And I've never had a chance, just again, time management, to really sit down and watch a lot of theorists. So that's definitely something I would like to do more of. No worries, AK. I know that you had said before that you had a previous commitment, but I'm glad you were able to stick around for a little while. Sorry I got a little bit of a late start, or you would have been able to be here a little bit longer, but thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it on the replay. It was a lot of fun to see you today. Thank you so much. All right, so to start off, I decided to put these songs in chronological order. From earliest release to most recent release. So it's kind of a mix. I didn't go just with like all of the songs that they recommended to share and then all of the hidden gems. They're all kind of like woven in together. So to start, obviously, right off the bat is No More Dream. This was one of the songs picked by ARMY as a title track to share, which was also very hard, by the way, sticking just to title tracks. That's probably why they said just title tracks, because otherwise we could recommend every single song under the sun, and title tracks made us focus a little bit more. But that was still very hard to do. So No More Dream is, of course, the title track of their very first album, Too Cool for School, from back in 2013. And that is kind of its biggest, special fun fact, is that it is the first title track. And of course, it comes out strong with the iconic lyrics of "Hey you, what's your dream?" And it's all about the people. Specifically, the song was made at the time when BTS was primarily speaking to the youth, when that was kind of they were the bulletproof Boy Scouts, and ARMY was the adorable representative MCs for youth. And so it does have a very youth focus, but I think that a lot of the songs of the school era do actually have a lot of relevancy even beyond just being like when you're school aged. So even though it's talking about the youth and the youth without dreams, I do think anybody can take a lesson from how this song talks about, the expectations other people have about you, and how they want to put their own ideas about what you should be doing in your head instead of what you want to do, and how that just is, it can kill people's dreams. And this song wants people to, think for themselves and dream for themselves and not be weighed down by the thoughts and dreams of others and other people's goals, and make their own goals instead. So I think that's very relevant. In that sense, it is definitely a good song to share, even though Jin was like, no. I do think it is a good song to share for that reason, because it does have an amazing message. In terms of some iconic performances, like whether that's how you choose to show it or just you yourself go down memory lane and watch some of these, of course, you have to mention the BTS Hot debut on M Countdown, their first award or like music show performance when they were kind of first debuting, and that was their first ability to debut and show what they had. And it's always such a treat to go back and watch that, with modern eyes, 2025 eyes, and go back and watch that in 2013. They do an homage to this, some of these earlier performances. They do an homage to them in the Magic Shop Muster in 2019, which is a great performance. I love that performance of No More Dreams so much. And then they did a really awesome, really iconic performance of it in Map of the Soul 1 as well, their online concert that they did at the end of 2020. And I find that performance really, really cool. I agree. No More Dream is absolutely a no-skip song. I just love... And I just imagine hearing No More Dream like back in 2013, because it's so unique and it has such a unique sound that I just imagine it was so attention grabbing, because it just really, it's even nowadays, even knowing what BTS can do, even knowing the song, every time it starts, you're like, hold up, No More Dream is playing. All right. Listening to No More Dream now. And it's great. It's such a strong start. And like the ARMY said when they picked it for Song to Share, it is such a good start to BTS's incredible career. And I absolutely think it is a great, a great one to start off with. Up next chronologically is Where You From. This was picked by ARMY as a song that they want to gatekeep. This comes off of School Love Affair from 2014 and features different Korean dialects. There aren't a lot of performances of this one, so one of the best ones to find is actually one from their very first concert, BTS Live Trilogy Episode 1, BTS Begins. And so that's a fun way to get to know the song. And I would recommend for people who are like kind of curious about the dialects that they use, their satori, is you can actually look at the lyric translator Dulcet Bangtan, who really breaks down like what would this lyric look like in regular textbook Korean, and then what it looks like in the satori. This was actually a really funny one that J-Hope and Jin described and were talking about, because with Jin being from around Seoul, he doesn't have a dialect, and so he was talking about how everybody else got to be doing dialects, and he's like, I don't have one. So so it was mostly kind of concentrated to J-Hope and Yoongi's dialects, because Namjoon, being from around Seoul, also doesn't have a dialect. So just a fun little thing that they were laughing about, which I thought was cute. And definitely, I agree that this is definitely a hidden gem. I was so delighted to see this song pop up. To me, one of the, like, if you were like, where do you know this song from? I think one of the most obvious ones, but not a performance, that pops up for me is this was actually one of the songs that they had to guess in a guessing game in a Run BTS episode. So there's a Run BTS episode where they're in Canada, and they're staying overnight in this house, and they're playing these different games, and they have a wake-up mission to go out and kind of guess the song just based on like the first letter or the first word. And so I remember V guessing this song correctly. I think it's like He's in the Line, so it's like Tae, Jimin, I think Jin, and they're all in the line trying to guess this song, and Tae remembers it first and goes and sings the first line, where did you come from, will you tell me your name? And then he goes back to the house singing it at the top of his lungs while Jimin frantically shushes him because everybody else is still asleep. And that is where I know Where You From. That's where I know Where You From is from. That's a weird sentence, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm with you too on that one, Javine. I don't actually, so this is a little bit of a probably unpopular opinion, but I don't actually really like School Love Affair that much. That's not to say that there aren't some great songs on there, because there are, of course, some really good ones. But when it comes to early BTS albums, I would always rather be listening to like, Oh, Are You Late Too or Too Cool for School. I tend to be more of a fan of the early school era than the late school era. So I don't super love School Love Affair, and so I don't often do this song, which is why it was honestly quite surprising to see it on the gatekeeping list. But I know the ARMY who chose it just loves the dialects, and they said they want to gatekeep how fun and cute the dialects are, which I can totally respect. So next up chronologically, we have another one of the songs to share picks, which is Run. So Run is, of course, iconic because it kind of continued the BTS universe storyline that we first saw in The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. This is the title track for The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2. And it has, you can see this in the music video. It kind of is encouraging people to continue to run, even if there is the worry that you will fall or get hurt. That's a big theme in that, in the HYYH era. We see it again in Epilogue Young Forever. Even if I fall and get hurt, I'll still run towards my dreams. So the idea of pick yourself up and keep running even when it's hard is definitely a big theme of both the song and the era. For that reason, I do think it has a good message. I do also think Run has a bit of like that kind of like boy band pop sound that some people might expect from BTS, but it has such a unique message, and then the fact that it's part of the BTS universe kind of puts it in its own very unique kind of realm, and its own sort of it makes it its own unique thing, which I think makes it a lot of fun to share. Metaloop, do you think that BTS and the staff picked these songs because they also say something about the future? Ooh, I like that question a lot. I think that could definitely be the case. I think part of what they wanted to do is I think they wanted to have a bit of a cross section of eras. So like if you see, it's like Too Cool for School, School Love Affair, Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2. There's a little bit of like an every other song type of thing. And then if you add in some of like the other ones that they were talking about, like I know I Need You is included in favorite choreography. So that would be Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. And so I think they were doing their best to get a cross section of as many eras and albums as they could. But I would love the idea of these songs being picked because they are trying to say, let's look at some of the songs that are maybe more Korean, because that's even what J-Hope said about Idol, where he was like, oh, I'm not saying that Dynamite doesn't have a BTS vibe. I just think Idol has more of a BTS vibe, and it's very much like a Korean song, and it has the Korean phrases in it. I think that would be very interesting. Hi T-Style, it's good to see you, and I totally agree. Do not run. You guys are on a cliff edge. Please be careful. Whoever is the correct option. Everybody hold each other's hands and be careful. No worries, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I'm so glad you got to be here for the first part. And I hope you enjoy it when you watch the rest of it on replay. Thank you for being here today. It was good to see you. All right. Next up is Whalian 52. You guys know I was excited about this one when this one popped up because I love Whalian, and I've talked about that in previous live streams, that this is like my personal pick for a hidden gem that I would want to gatekeep, but at the same time I also want everybody to listen to Whalian because I love it so much. So this was picked by both J-Hope and ARMY for a song that you would want to gatekeep. And I love Whalian as somebody who often talks about kind of feeling different and isolated and like an outsider. That's exactly what this song is about. It's about kind of being both an alien and as a lonely wandering whale. But it also kind of encourages us to use our voices. And it is based off of an actual real whale. There is a whale called the 52 Hertz whale, hence the title of the song, that sings at a different frequency than other whales. So literally no other whales can hear it. And that is where, that is where they got their inspiration for the song and for the idea of what it feels like when you use your voice but no one can hear you, which is a very sad notion. But the song has a very optimistic sort of, kind of an like, maybe if I keep singing, maybe someday somebody will hear me, which I think is very meaningful when you look at it 10 years later. And I think it's a very special song that I do kind of want to gatekeep a little. Metaloop, I like that comment. I think because like we were saying earlier, we are kind of on this threshold, and we were talking about this last week a bit too, or I should say last live stream. We're on the threshold of what do we get from BTS now? And what does the BTS journey look like post-military service? And so I think it would be really great if they were emphasizing like those, and it would also make a lot of sense to kind of emphasize the theme of dreams and identity, because that would pick up where Map of the Soul 7 left off. Map of the Soul 7 obviously was so heavily about identity because it was about the exploration of the self and the map of the soul. And when you even like the On music video ended with Dream, and it would be so interesting to pick up those themes and keep going with them. And I would honestly find it really interesting. I don't know how they want to do those themes in future. It's funny. Dreams and identity are actually two big themes throughout the BTS, like just throughout BTS's work, that I actually have on my list. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the website Trello. It's like an organization website where you can sort of make lists and then put like items in the list that you want to discuss. So for me, when I have like a Trello board for this channel and I have all of my topics listed out that I want to talk about, and I have them organized into lists. And one of my lists is themes and like themes and motifs throughout their work. And one of the cards that I have on the theme list is dreams, and another one is like identity and sense of self. And so especially dreams is a really interesting theme to track throughout BTS's work because it changes so much. Because they're talking about dreams in different contexts. So when they're talking about it in No More Dream, they're primarily concerned with the idea that young people are being made to just want to do what the adults in their life want them to do rather than having like their own dreams and their own sense of self. But then when you get a little bit later into BTS's work, they're also assuring you, hey, it's okay if you don't have a dream. You don't have to have your self-worth tied up in goals. That's what Paradise is about, off of Love Yourself Tier. And so then when you kind of get into Map of the Soul era, then it's kind of talking about having different dreams and having, so it's a very fluid theme. And I think it would be kind of interesting to see what's the next stage of evolution for the idea of the dream, and how that theme works in BTS. So I would love to see if I think this is a great group of songs. Like if we're looking at, just going back up to the top, if we're looking at like Idol, Run, Spring Day, No More Dream, On, Walian, 2-3, So What, like these are really good songs to I could see that, weirdly enough, I could see that being an album. You know what I mean? Like that sounds weird because those songs are very, very different, but I could see that becoming a cohesive narrative. Yeah, it's Metaloop. You're so right. And this is something that he also, Namjoon also talked about this a lot even before the military. I remember he did an interview. Oh gosh, it was when he was in Spain, but I forget who it was. I forget if it was Vogue. I forget which magazine it was for. But the interviewer asked him, and I'm paraphrasing because this was a few years ago, but something along the lines of like, oh, you guys in BTS work so hard. Why do you work so hard? And his answer, Joon's answer, was flawless. He was like, you have to understand, we came from a country, like Korea used to have nothing, and like post-Korean War, it was a struggle, and we work hard for everything we have. We don't have the luxury of, coming from a background or a country where it's like, oh, here you go, here are all of the opportunities. And the way they've had to sort of claw their way into the Western music industry as well, which is something that I've talked about in conjunction with like the song On, and I think that's very central to the themes of On. It is very important that those elements of their Korean identity are, and I mean, obviously, having just come from the Korean military, obviously that part of their Korean identity is very heavily in their minds right now as well. But I think their Korean identity and their Korean journey is what sets them apart in a way that a lot of other people just, it's so unique to them. A lot of other people just don't have it or understand it. And I would like to see more of it kind of highlighted. I think that would be really cool. I agree. I love, you guys know this. You guys know I'm a Map of the Soul girl. And I just think there is so much to be unpacked with the idea of achieving self-actualization and, trying to get used to the inner shadow and things like that. I would absolutely love that to be explored, even if it's not, called like Map of the Soul in so many words. I think personally, I would love to see a follow-up to Map of the Soul as an era. And you guys probably know this from watching my videos for a while. I actually had somebody kind of go, oh, I don't super like the way that you define your eras when I talk about the BTS eras, because I tend to think of when I do my analysis, I talk about everything that happened after Map of the Soul as like the post Map of the Soul era. And they're like, you're kind of homogenizing like a lot of stuff. But the reason why I do that is because I do think that Map of the Soul was one of the last times that we saw an era concerned with a theme. Because like we had Wings was a concept album. So obviously that was definitely talking about, a very specific theme. And then the Love Yourself series, very specific theme of that. And then same thing with Map of the Soul. And I think it's the last time that we really had a chance to see like a cohesive theme in an era, rather than like, the album B was about the pandemic, or the English trilogy was, singles. They weren't in an album. They weren't, part of an overall narrative. So I would love to see a return to the overall narrative, because I'm very curious, what do they want to say as BTS and as individuals nowadays? And I just think that it'd be really interesting to keep exploring dreams, identity, self-actualization. I would love for the songs that we're discussing here today to serve as like a springboard, because there's so much good stuff in these. Yeah, Metaloop, you are so right. Especially considering they are just looking at, they were just looking at the Map of the Soul writings by Carl Jung, and there's so many other things that they could definitely dive into. I 100% agree. Anyway, I apologize for going off on a very long, rambly tangent, but you guys know me. I love to ramble. But returning to the songs that I picked out to discuss today, we have 2-3, which we were talking about earlier as just like a very moving fan song. And I think part of why it's so moving is because it is an acknowledgement of the struggles that BTS was going through at the time that they made this song. We know that around the Wings era and before that, they were dealing with a lot of hate, and they were dealing with a lot of issues of just like they had achieved success and people didn't, think they deserved that success and were coming after them. And the fans were suffering all of that along with them. So it's 2-3 is, I think, a very warm, sweet song that just and I like the way it begins of saying like, I can't tell us that we're only gonna have beautiful moments. I can't say that we're only gonna walk on flower paths, because I know that's not true, but I hope that we can still have better days in the future, and that together we can find those. And I think that's a really, really beautiful message. Ooh, just returning to the chat. I like the idea that Javine just mentioned of like Map of the Soul is related to loving yourself, and it could kind of be a conclusion to the most beautiful moment in life. I'm honestly always astonished by how well all of the albums flow together. When you flow from the school era into the HYYH era, into Wings, into Love Yourself, into Map of the Soul, it tells a very complete story. And I know obviously like there was a lot of planning that went into that, and like they did want to tell a story like that, a complete story, but the fact that all of these songs mirror what like the boys were actually going through, and then also they are telling a story is just mind-blowing, that it's like sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, but sometimes truth and fiction are one and the same. And like the way that their lives unfolded like a storybook is kind of amazing to me. All right. So then, of course, moving out of Wings, we of course end up in the You Never Walk Alone album with Spring Day. And this was picked as one of the songs to share, like we were discussing earlier. And I absolutely do get sharing this because it is one of BTS's most iconic songs. And it's, I think, one of their most important songs. And fun fact, which I discussed in my video where I was discussing why Spring Day has so much staying power, but it's still true even now. Fun fact, this has been on the Korean music melon chart since its release. I literally just checked yesterday when I was working on these slides. It is still on the melon chart. I think it was at like number 73. Yes, Metaloop, you are so right. For 2-3, there is definitely an idea of resilience, which honestly, let's just, again, brief tangent, but if we, other than Where You From, which is a little bit more fun, but like, let's look at all of these songs with the idea of resilience as a theme. So resilience for No More Dream, don't give up your dream, don't give up on what you want to do. Run, it's okay to get hurt, keep running even if you fall. Walian, you can still use your voice even if nobody else can hear you. Keep trying. Because the end of Walian, the last line of Walian is today, again, I sing, you know, so it's like, don't stop using your voice. 2-3, you know, we're going to push through it no matter what happens. And then Spring Day, please stay at that place a little longer, you know, so even if the winter comes, even if it's cold and difficult and hard, keep being resilient, keep holding on. And eventually, you know, we will get to better days. So a lot of these songs are all about resilience. Ooh, T-Style. I agree. That would be a really interesting theme for a group album of just like knowing yourself and self-expression. Because it would be like, you could almost look at Love Yourself, and then Map of the Soul could be like finding yourself, or, you know, knowing. Even you could consider Map of the Soul could be like a knowing yourself, and then they could always do a speak yourself. Metaloop, yes, the Korean national anthem, Spring Day. They have two national anthems, their real one, and then this, the actual anthem, the important anthem. Yes, I agree with you, Sonia. I love that they picked Spring Day when J-Hope and Jin sang that at J-Hope's concert. That was beautiful. And I love that they had this as the first one that they played on their little radio show. And that this is like the first thing that you hear when you open up that video. Spring Day has kind of been with us through a lot of these milestones and a lot of these hardships that we've gone through, which is why the two of the iconic performances that I chose here were Bang Bang Con the Live in 2020, which of course was when they couldn't see ARMY in person because of COVID, and then Yet to Come in Busan, which was right before Jin began military service. So Spring Day is kind of one of those perennial songs that is always with us, you know, whenever we're having, you know, a hard time, and whenever we do need to be encouraged to hold on for the spring to come. So I love the way they've used this song. And I have a video all about why I think Spring Day has such staying power. And I talk about a lot of those reasons there, where it's just time and time again, I think it's so easy to come back to the sincerity of Spring Day and the true, honest, genuine emotion of Spring Day. Metaloop, I like that. We have a B. So the B album could be Be Yourself. All right. Next up is the song C, which was picked by ARMY as one they want to gatekeep. I do have a small complaint about when this was being discussed in the video that J-Hope and Jin did, and this I think is just a me thing, because obviously both the terms sea and ocean mean the same thing, essentially. They can be interchangeable. But was anybody else bothered by the fact that they kept translating this in the subtitles as ocean instead of sea? Because that was bugging me. Oh, hello, welcome. No worries. You don't have to apologize for being late. Everybody who was here from the start can tell you I was off to a bit of a rocky start today, so I am just glad that you are here. We're just kind of having fun talking about the songs that J-Hope and Jin discussed on their Festa radio program. So, and you can always catch up on what you missed when I put it up on the channel. So I hope you enjoy. But thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a good day. But yes, so it was really bothering me that they kept calling this song Ocean instead of Sea. And this is a hidden track, so it's only available on the physical album of Love Yourself, Her, which Jin made the remark that it was maybe a little bit too hidden for him, but it's a wonderful song. And this song really, we were talking earlier about like repeated themes in BTS's work. The ocean and the desert is a huge, huge theme, where the ocean represents hope and the desert represents despair or trial or struggle. And so C kind of postulates, like, what if the ocean and the desert are the same? What if the ocean becomes the desert and the desert becomes the ocean, and back and forth? And this song is truly, it's a theming masterpiece. It tells their stories about the struggles that they've gone through, and it's just so beautifully arranged. I agree with you, Metaloop, 100%. It's just, there's something about C that just, and I think, like you said, kind of being Namjoon coded, I think it's because in English you have both SEA, the body of water, and SEE, like the act of looking. And I can definitely see both of those being kind of, because you're looking at the ocean, you're looking at the desert, you're looking at your own pain, you're looking at hope. So having C and C be interchangeable, I think makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Sonia. I'm like, I think sea and ocean, even though they kind of can be interchangeable, I think they technically refer to like different bodies of water, like they have different attributes. So I'm like, if it's called sea, let's call it sea. And very sad, because I've been looking at iconic performances, like here in Spring Day, I have listed a couple of iconic performances. There are no performances of C. The sad quartet of songs without performances are C, Heartbeat, Louder Than Bombs, and Paradise. And so it's like we have the sad quartet of songs that don't have performances. Wah wah. Yes, I agree. It is so, so powerful. Yeah, and everybody who's mentioning Yet to Come in the chat, I love that part of the Yet to Come music video where they have both the sea and the desert in that. And it's very, the ocean and the desert, that theme begins as early as Wings and is carried through, in a lot of, even right up to Yet to Come. And I think that's really, really special. That is a good point, Metaloop. They are songs only for us, so they can't have performances because they belong to ARMY. And Namjoon did tell us that Louder Than Bombs is too difficult to perform, which made me very sad. But but they live on in our hearts, so. All right. Speaking of songs that ARMY wants to gatekeep, we have So What, which again, I stopped at Spring Day when we were talking about the theme of resilience, because that's where I happen to be, but then, oh look, we have another song about resilience when we talk about C, and then So What, which is a lively, fun, energetic song, but is also about resilience, because it's about, continuing to run forward and feeling joy, even if you're struggling or even if other people are criticizing you. So we have another song about resilience, this one off of 2018's Love Yourself, Tear. I personally love this song. It has such an amazing message. And it has, so it has like that very lively, upbeat vibe that, kind of makes you want to dance and makes you feel really good, but it has such an important message. It also is one of my favorite performances from their muster in 2021, the Suwuzu muster, in which they were spraying water at each other and running around the stage like crazy people. And it is so important to me. I love it so much. And I agree with the ARMY who kind of said, like, I kind of selfishly want to keep this to myself because it gives me comfort during hard times. And it kind of makes me feel, a little bit more powerful and uplifted. So I can understand where they're like, it may be selfish, but I want to keep that one all to myself. Oh, look, another song about resilience, Idol. So Idol was picked, like we were saying earlier, by both J-Hope and ARMY as a song to share, because it does perfectly embody the idea of the Love Yourself albums and the idea of self-love in general with You Can't Stop Me Loving Myself. And it also has some of the most amazing performances of any BTS song ever, including the iconic performances at both MMA and Mama, and some fun performances like BTS Week on the Tonight Show. So you're always gonna get iconicness when you queue up Idol. Like when you pull up Idol to show somebody, it's always gonna be iconic. Next up, this was picked by J-Hope for the lyrics question. And yes, Metaloop, you are so right. Another song about identity. You Can't Stop Me Loving Myself. Whoops, getting ahead of myself there. Then Microcosmos. I would even say Microcosmos has a lot of identity themes as well, because it's about how each person is like a star. Everybody's light is important. And it comes from a word meaning very small and then a word meaning very large. So you have the microcosm and the cosmos coming together to make the song title of Microcosmos. And another one that just has some beautiful performances. It was part of their very large 2019 MMA performance where they did several songs. And then it was also another one that they did BTS Week on the Tonight Show, which, if we're talking about identity, they did both Idol and Microcosmos in front of Gyeongbokgung Palace in Korea. So a very like noteworthy historical cultural landmark in Korea, where they're performing these songs in front of that palace, or in, you know, Idol was in front of it, and then Microcosmos was kind of in like a courtyard area. So again, we're looking at kind of like that very Korean identity, and that very what I love about a lot of the Map of the Soul songs. This is something that I just discussed recently when I was discussing Dionysus, when I did the video about Dionysus, is they do a really great job of combining the fact that they are Korean and that they have, you know, Korean roots and they tell Korean stories, but also this larger view of the world. And so I think Microcosmos and performing that in Korea the way they did is a beautiful combination of their Korean roots and kind of the concept of looking out into the rest of the world. And even the lyrics kind of match that. Like the lyric of, I remember the sky that I looked at when I was a child. So taking it back to their origins and then looking out to the larger universe and looking at all these people, and kind of looking at each person has their own individual story to tell, which is very, very cool. Yeah, Sonia, you're so right. Performed Idol while wearing hanbok. I love that like so many of the performances of Idol are in hanbok. Obviously, in some of them, like when they did it on Good Morning America when it premiered, and then also on The Tonight Show where they were in those very colorful suits. So we do have the colorful suits sometimes, but a lot of other performances are always in the hanbok, which I love. Yes, Metaloop, you are so right. The stars, planets, space, all of that is so often used in, you know, the moon. A lot of that is used in BTS's work, both as a group and both as in solo, the sense of their solo work. And I always love the cosmic themes that they use. There is such a grand, like, universe, you know, that they just always are kind of drawing from. I would honestly love to see more of that. I would love to see a whole, this is just a me thing, a personal thing that I would get such a kick out of, a whole album that was really, really saturated in like cosmic themes and space themes. I think that would be really cool. I don't know if they would do that, but I would love that. All right. So next up for songs that ARMY want to gatekeep is Heartbeat. This song came out in 2019. The astute among you will notice that 2019 was not 10 years ago, even though Jin is like, this song is almost 10 years old, isn't it? And I say this out of the deepest love and affection for Jin, because you all know that he is my bias along with June. So, but apparently he has the forgetfuls. And so, yes, 2019 was not 10 years ago. I don't know if what he was thinking of is the fact that in the concept of the song is portraying old BTS, and if that's what he was thinking of, but it did not come out back when it is portraying. It came out as part of the BTS World soundtrack, and BTS World was a mobile game which basically allowed the player to manage and assist BTS as they journeyed to become a band. BTS World was a bit before my time as an ARMY, so I never actually played it. So I don't know a lot of the ins and outs, but it does have an absolutely incredible soundtrack. And as the ARMY who mentioned this song as one they want to gatekeep even said, it is wild to think that this song is part of a game OST, because it is an incredible song and has a beautiful music video. And so this is another one that doesn't have any performances, which does make sense since it was the game OST, but it is an incredible, incredible song. So beautifully done, and such a beautiful music video. Another very cosmic journey in that music video, because it's almost like parallel universes, and it's very much the planets coming together. It's a very, very cool video. Yes, I agree, Metaloop. The music video of this song is so incredible. It's more incredible than it had to be. You know what I mean? Because again, as just the OST for a game, it didn't need to be this intense and beautiful, and it's absolutely stunning. And the song itself is absolutely stunning. This song actually always gets me so emotional, and I just love it so much. Right, but Butterfly, you were so right. The way they are a little wibbly wobbly on their time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the joke of girl math. So I've been teasing Jin and been saying that Jin is doing boy math. And I guess technically six years ago, I guess you could technically round that up to 10 if you wanted to do boy math. But I don't know when he was thinking this song came out, but it was very cute that he thought it was 10 years ago. Hello, and so everybody who just kind of came in recently, it is so good to see you. I am so glad you're here. Thank you for being here today. We're just having fun discussing some songs based on everything that Jin and J-Hope did in Festa. So just diving deep into some of those. All right. Next up, another song about both resilience and identity to keep up the theme that we've been discussing is On. One of my personal favorites, and this one was, as we discussed earlier, picked by ARMY for Song to Share. And this is not only the title track of Map the Soul 7, but it was kind of conceived of as a reboot of No. So it's the opposite of No. If you turn that around, you get On. I agree, right? The BTS World soundtrack was amazing, and it's crazy to think that it's just on the BTS World soundtrack, and that is it. Like Heartbeat should honestly be graduated into an actual album because it is amazing. But so, talking of On, this is another song about moving forward despite the hardships. This is another song that tells kind of BTS's story, the story of ARMY, how they started from nothing, how they kept pushing forward, how they achieved such great success. And I have mentioned this. I have a whole video talking about the music video of On, where I discuss how a lot of On's themes feel like arriving at a hostile place, arriving at a new world, finding that it's hostile, finding that it doesn't want you, it's not going to easily let you in, but that you still push forward and you still, kind of assert your right to be there, and that eventually you will triumph. And I think that is so central to both On as just a song, like lyrically, and On as a music video. Some iconic performances, of course, the picture that I use here is from their Tonight Show performance in 2020 when they did this in Grand Central Terminal. One of my absolute favorite BTS performances of all time, to be honest with you. And they, of course, did it at the end of 2020 for their MMA and Mama performances. I also put on the Permission to Dance on Stage concerts, because while we talked on the previous screen, excuse me, about Jin being a forgetful bean. Jin gave me a whole identity crisis, both in this video that we were talking about, their Festa video, and when he did the BuzzFeed puppy interview, where he asserted in both interviews that they have never performed on stage, even though they definitely did at the Permission to Dance on Stage concerts. And if you saw my post on Twitter, he was giving me a whole crisis, and me and a lot of other armies, that he was like, we've never performed on stage. And I'm like, Jin, what? What do you mean? So I just had to put that in there. Yes, they did perform on stage. Meta loop. Yeah, that has always been my interpretation of On personally. I look at the music video for On when the first shot when they're there and the dove is skewered by the arrow, and then you see like the washed up boat and you see the wall that's keeping them out. I've always interpreted that as you arrive in a new place and you find that it's hostile. So like the story of Noah's Ark, you finally arrive on the dry land, you send the dove out to see if it's safe. And I always looked at On as sort of interpreting it as, what if you arrived at the new world and you set the dove out and the dove got killed and you're marooned here and nobody, everybody is being hostile and you don't know what to do. And that was further compounded for me during the Map of the Soul 1 online concert, where before the ending, June gave a bit of a speech where he was kind of saying that the story of BTS and ARMY is that you keep meeting these high walls with the gates closed. And it immediately made me think of the On music video. And that to me just really cemented it, that it was their own story and experience of continually trying to kind of break into the music industry here in the West, or even in Korea, because, of the not being a part of the big three companies there, and just every new stage that they found themselves on, they found obstacles that were in their way. And I absolutely think that speaks a lot of their journey and ARMY's journey. I was wondering the same thing with Jin not remembering, because he was injured in the Vegas concerts, and I was like, that would make sense if he didn't remember, but he was not injured in LA. So Jin has said himself that sometimes he erases memories because he erases bad memories. So then sometimes he accidentally erases good memories. So I think he erased the memories of performing On. Or he just, because On is so tough, maybe he just went into a fog while he was dancing and totally forgot that that's what they were doing. But all of us who saw On performed live are all having like a weird Mandela effect where we're like, we know we saw On performed. Okay, yeah, we remember, right? Right, all of our brains had to recalculate a little bit where we're like, okay, I think he's misremembering. I am pretty sure. I love Jin. I just have to tease. Just have to tease him a little bit. But yes, I agree with you, Sonia. The fact that they emptied out Grand Central Station to do this performance of On is like the biggest flex, and it is so sad to me that they couldn't continue to build on the momentum of that because of like COVID quarantine, because oh my goodness, like that performance is incredible. Yeah, I remember that too on live broadcast, JK not knowing they had a song called Heartbeat. Didn't he also not know that they have a song called Paradise? And it's just like the quartet of Heartbeat, Paradise, Louder Than Bombs, and what was the other one we were just saying? So it was Heartbeat, Paradise, Louder Than Bombs, and what was the other one? I'm blanking on it now, so I guess we can't get too upset with JK. C was the other one, of course, and that none of them seem to remember these songs sometimes. I like that idea, Butterfly. Jin doing On for his tour. solo edition on solo edition. But yes, our Jin lives in the moment, so that's what matters. He lives in the moment for the good memories, even if he sometimes gives us a crisis as we forget. I like Metaloop. He's been through so many different reincarnations in the BTS universe that he can't remember anymore. Aha, we figured it out. Alrighty, next up, going from one end of 2020 to the other, is Dynamite. So that lands us in the middle of when BTS was doing their best during the COVID-19 pandemic. Both Jin and ARMY picked this as a song to share because they figured it would be one that a lot of people knew. Because a lot of people do know it. If you talk to people who aren't ARMY, they know Dynamite. And Dynamite did have it was their first all English song, and it was designed to be like a very cheerful, upbeat song to help people kind of get through those dog days of the COVID-19 pandemic when we didn't know when it would end, and it was the summer and we were still all cooped up inside. And in that sense, I think it absolutely did what it needed to do. And I think it was done with very good intentions for that reason. And I think since a lot of people became ARMY from Dynamite, I think they did a good job of doing exactly what they wanted to do. That's true too, Metaloop. Sometimes with the Korean names being different from the English names, I think Paradise is a good example of that, because that one, I know the title of that one is written in Korean, like on the album. So he might have been a little bit confused when people were like, oh, Sing Paradise. He was probably like, what is that? But and of course, talking about Dynamite again, of course, we can't talk about Dynamite without mentioning the fact that they performed it at the Grammys in 2021, albeit remotely, and that it was nominated for their first group/duo Grammy. So again, Dynamite definitely did its job in that sense, and is a very iconic song. A couple months ago, there was a video on the YouTube channel for Rolling Stone where they were talking about two iconic BTS hits, like greatest of all time type things. And on one end of the spectrum, they were talking about Dynamite, and on the other end of the spectrum, they were talking about Spring Day. So, you have kind of both flavors of BTS, both the very upbeat, cheerful, powerful songs, and then, of course, the more reflective, emotionally gripping songs like Spring Day. So you've got both ends of the spectrum. And then continuing on, the last song that I'm going to be looking at in depth is Telepathy, which was picked by ARMY as part of the lyrics section. And this takes us from before the pandemic with On, to the middle of the pandemic with Dynamite, to the end of the pandemic, or not necessarily the end so much, but kind of like the end of 2020 at least, with Telepathy, which was... hang on. I'm going to just put you guys on a BRB screen because there is a weird noise outside. Give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. I live in Florida, so when you hear weird noises at your window, it's always a question of what the heck is that? So I had to pause briefly and see what it was. I don't think it's anything. I think it's just very windy outside. It looks like a storm is blowing in, so hopefully that's all it was, because, Florida be Florida-ing. But anyway, back to talking about Telepathy. Telepathy is probably my favorite song off of B. I just love the message of remaining connected despite the distance, and of course the lyrics of even if you're not by my side, we're still together. And they did a great performance of it in the Suwuzu Muster in 2021 that is just lives rent free in my head because it is such a sweet, cute performance. I love this song so much. I agree with the ARMYs who picked this as their lyrics pick. So since I know we have some people who joined a little bit after I started, I'm just going to jump back up to the top a little bit, where we are looking at, this was the full list of questions that was presented. Obviously, as BTS's 12th anniversary, they did 12 questions. And so these are the 12 questions and the bolded ones are the ones that I'm discussing. So if you haven't seen the festive video, I would definitely recommend going and watching it. It is so much fun. Jin and J-Hope are great hosts, playing off of each other. And the questions and answers that they got for this video, I think, were terrific. And so I was really excited to be able to discuss them. So if you were not here at the beginning, I'll just go through them again real quick. And you can, of course, see this on the live replay. But we have the songs, the title songs that people would recommend if you were introducing BTS to someone for the first time. Jin's pick, J-Hope's pick, and ARMY's pick, as well as the pick of one of the members who wrote in. My picks, in addition to those, because those are all amazing, I would also add Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Fake Love, and No. The hidden gems that you would want to gatekeep. We have Jin's pick, J-Hope's pick, and ARMY's pick. And I would add to that, You Never Walk Alone, Answer Love Myself, Magic Shop, and Louder Than Bombs. Next, they go into choreography. This is a perfect list. Absolutely perfect. I added Not Today, Go Go, and Boy With Love, and then we as a group also agreed on Fire and Dope. And then these, of course, are some of the quotes that both ARMY and then Jin and J-Hope would pick. And those are mine that I add in as well. So if you joined us a little bit later and you didn't get a chance to kind of answer these questions in real time with us, if you had any that you wanted to add to those lists, let me know. Oh no, Butterfly, I didn't remember that. Oh no, that is poor Yoongi. Poor Yoongi falling down. But yeah, so like I said, anybody who came in a little bit later, if you had anything you wanted to add to any of these questions, there was so many good things here that I could only focus on a few of them. So I chose to focus on the ones that were more about the songs so we could discuss the songs in depth. But if anybody also has things they want to add to any of these other questions, please feel free as well, because there is so much here to unpack. Originally, when I was planning this live stream, like I said earlier, my ambitions were a little bit larger than my timing. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the concerts, the music show performances, and even some of the lingo, because I thought that if there were any newer ARMYs who were watching the live who maybe weren't familiar with some of these, because obviously, Jin and J-Hope kind of moved through them kind of quickly. So they didn't really unpack them super much. So I wanted to do those as well, but I honestly just ran out of time. So I stuck with just the songs for today. Thank you very much, Don't Feed the Bears. I'm really glad that you enjoy the musings. I know I get very long-winded, and so I always appreciate when people enjoy my ramblings. Yes, Butterfly, you are so right, and I know an ARMY, in one of these more personal questions, like 9, 10, 11, 12 are a little bit more personal. And one of the responses that they read, the ARMY mentioned that Take Two is why she became an ARMY, that she found that one, and it so moved her. And I agree. Take Two is very underrated and very, very beautiful. So Metaloop asked, what themes and concepts in the BTS lore am I thinking about at the moment? So I just finished the liminal space video, so my mind is still kind of wrapped around the liminal space vibes right now, because I love liminal space as a theme in general. So I'm still thinking about that even though the video is done. The other video that I started writing the script around the same time as liminal space, and then I just kind of pushed it to the back burner a little bit because I know I want to focus on like doing videos for the members having gotten out of the military. But I was thinking a bit about, this is going to sound weird, but I've been thinking a lot about the fact that there are certain elements of different BTS music videos that deal a lot with either like post-apocalyptic vibes or like end of the world vibes or like dystopias, which, like I said, I know sounds so grim, but I've actually been thinking about that since Jin released Happy, because the music video for Running Wild features like it's the last day on Earth. And I know a lot of people were kind of surprised that in an album called Happy and in a song as upbeat as Running Wild, that the music video would be themed to the end of the world. But it makes perfect sense to me, and it is kind of just part of like a long history of BTS sort of analyzing apocalypses and dystopias, and it's like I would actually love to do a video about that, even though it's kind of a grim topic, just because I think it fits a lot of their messaging, and it's not out in left field to have a video that is kind of like that sort of dystopia vibe. And like I said, I had kind of started writing that script around the same time as I was writing the liminal space one, because I think there's a lot of overlap between the two concepts. But then I finished, wanted to do the liminal space video because I was really enthusiastic about that topic. So that one kind of took off and I pushed the other one to the back burner. But I would definitely like to get back to it because I think it's really interesting, because you have On is very much like dystopia, post-apocalyptic looking. You have Spring Day has some of those themes, especially because they take a lot of visual inspiration from the film Snowpiercer, which is a dystopia kind of post-apocalyptic vibe. So they use that a lot in as kind of a visual image in their music video. So I would love to get back into that. Ooh, I so agree with you about like watching the members collab together. Like the one that comes to my mind, right off the bat is, of course, when Yoongi did a redo version of Tony Montana with Jimin. And I love that version. And I know that ended up on Proof, and that version is fantastic. And so it's like, I would love to see like what it would look like if the members were collabing, kind of like taking their songs and collabing with the other members. Would be a lot of fun. I would so be down for that. Oh yeah, Metaloop, you're so right. Dying and resurrection, that is a huge theme in a lot of BTS's work. I've talked about it like when I did my video for On. I talked about it a lot, but like I was just talking about it again with Dionysus. And so like death and rebirth cycles are huge in both Wings and Map of the Soul. There's even a little bit of it like in the BU, for instance, Love Yourself. So it's just like that is a huge topic that could absolutely be unpacked like immensely. Yes, that's a great one to add for the lyrics for Microcosmos. The reason this night looks so beautiful is not because of these stars or lights, but us. Yeah, that's beautiful. I would love to see Microcosmos performed in concert, because I just think that would be like, anytime I've seen it performed like in a concert that they've done previously, it's always been beautiful, and I'd love to experience that. Ooh, yeah, that's another really good one. So Far Away, but with Jin and Jungkook, and yes, I love the additions of the members on songs like that. The other one that was really good, I love Max's part in Burn It off of Yoongi's album D2, but then when JK did it at Yoongi's concerts, that was awesome. So it's like JK doing those parts in Burn It was a lot of fun. Oh, yes. Oh, I would love to, I would honestly love to see some of these of like, because that is always something that I loved about the Musters, you know, and a lot of times they were doing it in a more playful sense, like OT7 Dechwata or OT7 Chicken Noodle Soup. Both of those were at Suwuzu, so they were doing a little bit more of like the playful songs all together, but I think it would be really cool to even, I mean, Dechwata's not necessarily playful, but they did it in a playful way, you know, and so it's kind of very lighthearted. But I would love to see them do that same vibe, but in a like a more serious sense of just like OT7 versions of songs would be a lot of fun. Yeah, 3D with any other rappers would be very interesting. I would again. It kind of reminds me of like how Jimin did Tony Montana with him, where instead of just like singing somebody else's verse, you know, because obviously like you know when somebody writes a verse, it's very personal to them. Instead, did his own verse, and I think that would be really cool to like have a member feature in another member's song, but kind of add like their own verse. Like would just be a really fun take. Thank you so much for being here, Metaloop. It was so good to see you. Thank you for all of your theme questions and like bringing all of those themes. I love talking about that stuff. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope you enjoy watching anything that you missed on the playback. We probably won't be here for too much longer, so you won't probably miss super much. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciated having you. And for anybody who came in a little bit later, I don't have too much housekeeping going on with the channel right now. Like I said, the Liminal Space video is up and ready. I'm going to be continuing the Welcome Home BTS series throughout July, and I'm not sure when my next live stream will be, just, you know, as I work on everything else, but I'll definitely keep you guys up to date with that and let you know. Oh yeah, you're so right about Closer Than This was supposed to be all the members for, yeah, I would love to see some of those that, you know, kind of, you know, redone or restaged. It would be a lot of fun. Yes, I agree with you, Sonia. It it is always interesting to see, like, you know, we had mentioned, you know, Burn It with featuring Max, and because like Yoongi and Max are friends, it's like it's really fun to see like a collab like that. But you add a member to that and you're like it's on a whole other level. It like it takes a whole, it has a whole other feel to it. And that is always my favorite. There are some great BTS collabs, but it always makes me happiest when they are performing songs together. And even on their solo work, like when Namjoon was featured on Yoongi's song, Strange, or J-Hope was featured on Huh off of D-Day, you know, and it's just like, whenever I see that it's going to be a member collab, I'm like, yes, this is what I need. So this is really all I had planned for today. I just wanted to kind of almost like do a post game of Festa. This video was the biggest content we got, because most of the other content was pictures, and it was kind of like some of the more playful videos, like some of the behind the scenes of like the reason why Jin and J-Hope are in these outfits, you know? So it's like we got the background behind that as they picked each other's outfits, and we saw the behind the scenes of the photo shoot that they did. So, but this was really unexpected, just this whole video and this survey, because to be honest with you, I actually forgot all about this survey. I forgot that this survey even existed. So, to see that this is how they used it, and that they used all of these questions to basically start this really amazing discussion and this really cool trip down memory lane. It blew me away, and I loved it so much. So I definitely wanted to come and talk about it with you guys. I'm sorry that I was a little bit late today as I was finishing everything up. Thank you guys, as always, for your patience. You are the best when it comes to giving me the leeway to get my stuff done. So I really appreciate that. And I hope you guys had fun discussing these songs. I had a lot of fun. I always love just kicking around theories with you guys and talking about what makes the song special and choosing our own picks for these different questions. So I hope you guys had a lot of fun today. Any other questions or final thoughts that you guys had before we sign off for the day? You are so welcome, Feed the Bears. I'm so glad you enjoyed. I'm so glad you were here. Oh, thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you. I'm so glad that you've been enjoying the streams and the videos. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you, for all of the support. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I hope you guys have a great week coming up. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed, Butterfly. Thank you for being here. You can catch the rest, anything that you missed of this stream. It'll go up on my channel as like a, kind of like a video on demand type thing. So you can go back and check anything that you missed, and it'll be in a playlist of my other live streams if you're interested in any of the other times. We have fun here, and we love to chit chat about theory and just have a good time. Oh, thank you so much, Sequoia. Good to see you, and I'm so glad that you are enjoying the live streams, that you had fun today. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Alrighty, everybody. So I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for being here. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll keep everybody up to date with like what I'm doing in the community section of the channel. I'll let you know like when I next plan like a next live stream. I'm going to be working on my upcoming videos, so you might not see me for a little bit, but I promise you I am plugging away in the background on my videos, and I hopefully will see you again soon on another broadcast sooner rather than later. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm so glad you all had fun. It was great being here with you guys today. Thank you so much. Oh, I would love, talking about the variety shows would be a lot of fun. I would love to keep unpacking some of these, like, the things that I didn't get to talk to today, like some of the other content and concerts and music shows. I would love to talk about some of those. So maybe in future we can unpack some of those. So alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. And I'll see you again really soon. Bye-bye.